Steve, how you doing? Hope you're well. Subscribe, like, etc. This week I have been looking at Brian Eno Stage 2, which is looking at his music for airport style things, so looking at long tape loops. So what you can hear in the background is the kind of first effort of producing a series of loops, getting everything sorted, and then I've taken it to a little bit of the next level. So I have got all of the samples you can download. You can also download the projects. It is in the latest version of 11.1.6 and whatever it is. So let's get stuck into it. So you can see from the screen, first thing that I did was I created a series of samples. So these choral samples were using Reason because the Humana vocal sounds quite nice. A lot of them are just one note, but I've also got some two note harmonies and then one note following one to another. I also did this with piano. And I did it with strings. Now I did 10 of each one. Now Eno did a lot less than that when he did his music for airports, but I kind of wanted to spread them out a little bit more and have a little bit more variation, which I thought would be quite good. So, as you can see from here, I started off with the 10 choral tracks. I put in the sample. Some of them were slightly off, so you might have to trim them. And all I did was select space and the sample, Command D, and just duplicate them out. So you can see that from the start, and I created something that lasts about 6 minutes long. I did exactly the same with the piano. I put the piano ones closer together because I wanted more of a sort of playing thing. And then with the strings, I put the strings a little bit further out. And what I've done is I've bussed these. So each one of them is going to, all the choral ones, if I go into session view, you can see easier. All of the choral ones are here, the audio is to the choral bus. Likewise with the piano, they go on the piano bus. And likewise with the strings. I put a separate reverb for each one using the Valhalla Supermassive. The choral's got the biggest, the piano is slightly smaller, and the string one's a little bit smaller again. I actually used the individual sends here rather than the bus ones because, I don't know. So on the buses, all I've got is a glue compressor set at -18, and I've just regulated the output volume using a utility. And that's the same for each one. Very, very simple, very straightforward, but also very effective. So if I just play a random section here. We see how all of these things interact with each other, and we end up with very music for airports. Nice random melodies, completely randomly thrown together. I didn't do any sort of thinking about this. I just grabbed them and duplicated to see what happened. I think I might have undone a few of them because they clashed a little bit, but it was very, very minimal. And that, in essence, take these samples, have a go, do it yourself. It's brilliant and you get a lovely feel. You can go anywhere in the piece and it sounds really, really nice. And I could literally just take that and duplicate it as many times as I wanted and create a very evolving piece that would just change completely. The whole purpose of the ambient is to never get the same thing happening. To be as ignorable as it is interesting, or the other way around, who knows. So I wasn't quite satisfied with that. I enjoyed it, it was brilliant, and I got something really nice, and also thought that'd be great if I could play with other samples, but then I thought, what happens if I take that to a next level? What happens if I start to add things? Well, this is what happens. So this is attempt number 2. The final attempt, I should say. I'm not leading you on to anything greater than this. So what I decided to do with this, I thought I'm going to stick a device on pretty much every track. So if I hit A to bring up the automation, you can see here with the pitch hack, it goes on every 3 pieces. So on here, if I play that and solo it, now that is actually adding a reverse. It's quite subtle, the effect, so there's nothing huge on it. On the second channel, I've got a delay, and what I'm doing with the delay, this is a little bit less subtle, and maybe I wanted to get something a little bit creepy. So if I solo this, you'll see that I change the delay time. I thought it's a really nice effect to put on the vocals, and of course it sits very much in the background. You've got that huge reverb that carries it on. And the other effect that I've used is reversal protocol, which is a hybrid reverb preset. And again, I solo that. In this, I'm changing the size. And just like with the choral, I've got it set to repitch, the delay, I've got it set to repitch. So very similar on this, when I'm changing it, it slightly repitches the sample. And then I've got a pitch hack there, I've got a delay there, I've got nothing on that channel. And again, pitch hack, delay, reversal, pitch hack. So we get to the piano and I've pretty much just copied the same thing. So you can see that I'm doing it intermittently for different samples. So for example, on this piano sample, we've got a large size, and then on this one, the size gradually decreases as the sample plays. Now that's quite a subtle effect. It's actually too subtle, that one. But if I play it from here, oops. Hear that repitching of the sample. I kind of went for the creepy sound. I thought it'd be nice to get that. So again, on here, I've got the pitch hack just turning on or off. It took quite a lot of time to do this, believe it or not. Just going through each one and setting up the automation and putting the device in. Exactly the same thing here with the strings. So what you've got there is that fully reversed, as you can hear that kicking in a little bit later, so it adds a little bit of texture and tone to the sound. So with everything playing, if I turn that automation off, we've got something with these subtle changes in. And the other thing that I did, I've got one of the buses muted at the minute, but if we go to the choral bus, you can see I've got the utility glue compressor I'm putting off the bottom end, and I've also got around the head, but on a very low setting on the auto pan, and then I've got the bad tape setting, so this is giving a little tiny bit. You see the dry wet's only on 12%, little tiny bit of tape. I've got the same on the piano bus with slightly different rate. I've got 0.21, 0.14, and on the string bus again 0.33, something slightly different. So it's just giving that little bit of a feel of tape, and it's also with the auto pan just giving us a little bit of stereo spread, pushing things out a little bit. And then I have the ear candy bus. This is me messing around. Ear candy. I guess I've coined the term from watching Andrew Huang's videos because I like the way he uses ear candy in his pieces. And what we've got for this is I've taken several of the samples. You can see 2 from the choral, 2 from the piano and 3 from the strings, and I've pretty much pitched them up by an octave using the warp mode, the Complex Pro, and then played around with the formants on the envelope until it sounded just about right. So for this I used 2 notes because I thought it sounded quite nice. And then I alternated with another 2-note phrase, so I used the octave above C and then the A underneath, and alternated with G, and then it was an E in A as well. And then they repeat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then for the second one, I took the choral sample. I actually used exactly the same algorithm with the same format and envelope on there. And I've got delay on that as well. I shifted that up an octave, and then I used the G above, and then I've just alternated between the 2 on them. And then on here, this is a 2-note piano, so I've got an octave up and then I've got a 5th up because the original sample's on C3 when it goes into the simpler. And I've just done exactly the same thing for each one of those because I think it sounded quite nice, so I want to just sort of repeat that. And then we've got an octave above and then a further 5th above, and it was a little bit quiet when it was above, so I've just increased the velocity on that one. And I've got the same thing happening again on that one. Now on this next, I've gone on the strings, the octave, and the fourth this time because the fourth sounded quite nice. You see, it's quite quiet, but when it gets mixed in with the whole thing, and again I've got the same thing on there. For the next one, I've got exactly the same thing, just the octave again. There's just that subtleness happening above top. And then on the final one, I've got the octave above and the fifth above the octave. So I thought that sounded quite nice. So if I solo the A candy bus, I'll just let some things play there. And you can see on the bus itself, I added a pitch hack, and it's just a little bit, 14%, an octave up. It's not reversed, and I've got a little bit of recycling on it. So it just helps to add and spread things out and add that real bit of interest there. And then I went with 2 auto pans as well, both at different frequencies on around the head, only 6% on each one, but just enough just to kind of have a little bit going on out there, which I thought would be quite interesting. So if we play that with the whole piece, we'll just select something where that's happening. It's very, very subtle, but you can hear those things just happening on the edge of here, and that ear candy just adds a little bit of something going on to the piece. So it's effectively what I wanted to do was take Brian Eno's concepts, expand them out and do something a little bit more with them, because as nice as the first attempt sounded, all I've done in the digital world is spend, well, not 5 minutes, but it took quite a while to get all the samples, to export all the samples and put them in a folder and everything. But when it comes to putting them down here, Brian Eno had to wrap his tape around chair legs and all sorts. And he went a huge amount of effort to actually achieve the sounds he's achieved, whereas to just step forward a load of loops now is easy in the digital world. Those are just like straightforward, just like duplicate, bang, 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 out it goes. So I thought it'd be nice to update it in this way, add a little bit of ear candy to it, add some sort of swirling things going on, and also a little bit of creepiness from some of that delay change, which might be a little bit too creepy for you, but I kind of like that sort of thing. Maybe it's the goth re-emerging from my teenage years, you know. So there you have it. I might even play this full track to play out to, and like I said, all the stuff's there for download. You can have a play around with this, you can make your own things. On the proviso, I would really, really like to hear it if you do your own loops, if you do your own thing with this. I'd love to see what you can do with it, because I've had loads of fun doing this, and I reckon there's so much you can actually do with this technique. And I will be following this on with a final thing on Eno, looking at the way he kind of destroys and rebuilds sound to get different things. The cybernetician, as David Bowie described him. Now, thank you very much for watching. This will play gently out in the background to chill you down. See you next time. Bye.